Okay, well, for all of you that are home, this is one of three maybe videos on Napoleon that we'll do. And this PowerPoint, I'm probably will go back and forth between a couple of different PowerPoints that I have. This PowerPoint you actually don't have in Canvas. I like this one just a little bit better, only because it goes back. It talks about his early life. And while that's not necessarily important to the lesson in terms of like test, I like just to talk about it in relationship to who he was, Napoleon. But I will also talk about then the other PowerPoint that is in Canvas. So what we're going to talk about today is Napoleon and his relationship to France, and how he comes to power. And then the next video then will be the Napoleonic Wars, and then we'll do one on the Russia, and then his immediate downfall. Okay, so what we're going to talk about first is Napoleon, and like how he came to power and like his background. He's actually Italian. He was born off an island in Corsica, an island called Corsica. It's an island off of Italy, in the Mediterranean Sea. He's sent to military school like at age 9, and he is noted to be like very brilliant at an early age in military history and military strategics. And so he's sent to the French to a French military school. So this is where he gets like his start in the French military. And so he rises in ranks very quickly in the French military. Now, we don't hear about him in the French Revolution because so much other stuff is going on. But he is really active in the French Revolution. If we go back and look, he's part of like the National Convention, and he's part of Robespierre's Committee of Public Safety. So he's there all along the French Revolution. We just don't really hear about him. He is considered by many today to still be the most brilliant military strategist. It's just sometimes his ideas just like he overthought them, or he didn't even like listen to his own military ideas, or he would overthink them, or he would have it on a battle plan and then he just might not do it. But he spent time in his military schools researching military tactics. And so he led so many of the French armies to military victories. And while he's in Egypt, and I'll switch over to that PowerPoint in just a second, but while he's in Egypt, his armies find the Rosetta Stone. And the Rosetta Stone is a very unique like stone that they find, where they're able to translate hieroglyphics that were found on the pyramids. And then they're able to use that then to translate a lot more languages. So it's a pretty unique stone that they find, and it's actually a very valuable historical artifact. He's going to try and defeat Britain many times, but fail. And this is where I'm going to switch over to the other PowerPoint. And this is the one that is in your Canvas. He's going to come into power right at the end of Robespierre's power, when a group called the Directory takes over. Now, the Directory is a 5-member group that had replaced the Committee of Public Safety. The Directory functioned as the head of the government, but they were weak, they were poorly funded, and there was constant corruption in the Directory, and they had repeated attempts at coup d'etat. And a coup d'etat is just trying to overthrow a government or someone in power. So in addition to this, like there's still wars going on outside of France. Like France is fighting wars against other countries. And also there's revolution still happening in France. And then the government is corrupt. So all of this is happening in France continuous. Okay, so Napoleon is the French military leader. He is like leader of all of the French military. And so the directory knows Napoleon's history and they know how good he is. And so they put him in command of military campaigns in Italy, Austria, the Netherlands, and Egypt, and several other places. So, like, he has like his people in charge of all of these places in Italy and Austria. And then he himself goes to Egypt. Now, here's the thing, like he's kind of the reason why a lot of people are not happy with museums today, because they go and like strip all of these countries of their riches. Like he like takes everything that he can find from Egypt himself. And then like I said about the Rosetta Stone, now people are kind of like they're not, the Rosetta Stone is something very important in history, so they kind of give him a pass on that one. But like he goes and takes everything he can find from Egypt. And that's still like today, things that are in the British Museum and like the French museums, there's still lawsuits on that because Egypt's like, that belongs to us. That should be here. But besides that, you know, he is leading very successful campaigns in all of these countries, and he's being noticed, you know, by the French people for this. Well, he's in Egypt and he hears that the directory is falling apart back home. And so he hears this and he leaves his army in France and he heads back home with a small group of people that are his supporters. And he executes a coup d'etat. Now, here's the thing, there's no fighting, there's no like bloodshed, there's nobody that gets mad, really. He just kind of walks into a meeting at the Senate room and he sees kind of this fighting and he just kind of takes over. Well, immediately he takes over, he writes a constitution that gives him unlimited control, and they approve it, 3 million to like 1,500, which is really kind of interesting because the French people for over 10 years had been fighting for freedom. And they had been fighting against a government that took control away from them. And then they approve a constitution that gave someone unlimited control. So that's kind of like, it shows his confidence and it shows how much the people liked him, which is very interesting. And it's something we're going to continue to see with him. Now, he will name himself, or he will be named, he will call himself consul. Consul just really means leader, but then the people will call him consul for life. This is like, we love you. We love you so much, we're going to call you consul for life because we don't ever want you to leave. Now, 2 years later, he crowns himself Emperor Napoleon I. And like this is this elaborate ceremony at the church, and there's a priest. You know, he's about to crown him, and Napoleon takes the crown away from him and places it on his own head and effectively says, you know, there is no one else that can crown me emperor but me. I mean, like, hello, like that's some confidence right there. Now, even though he's emperor, consul, and emperor, he controls the entire government, but he's smart enough to put people in charge that can fix things in the government. Like he doesn't know about banking, but he knows he needs to put people in banking that can fix things. So like he creates a banking system. So he puts somebody in charge of that. He creates schools. And so he puts somebody in charge of that. So he appoints these people based on their ability to do the job, just not who like their parents were, like had happened under Louis and even under Robespierre. He's not religious, but he establishes peace with the Catholic Church because that's what the people want. And again, this gets him a lot of power with the people. It really gives him an opportunity to show to the people, I'm here for you. One of his most important achievements was what's called a codification of the laws, and this is the Napoleonic Code or the Civil Code. This gives equality to citizens, religious toleration, but it takes away a lot of freedoms from women. And women had received a lot of, sorry, that was bad grammar there. They had received a lot of, and I say a lot, they had received some freedoms under the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen, but those are all taken away under this code. Now, that's not good. But here's the thing about the civil codes, the Napoleonic codes, those are still the basis of the laws today in France. And obviously they've been updated. But, these were not good ideas. Napoleon was, for all that I like him, he was not equality, did not like equality for women. We can't all be perfect, right? Um, he did he had censorship though. He wanted to control all aspects of his government. He shut down 60 of 73 newspapers, all manuscripts, letters, magazines, pamphlets, anything that could be written about him had to go through his office before he would have it approved. But some things that he did that were really good for France that we can still see today. He built roads and bridges. He built parks. He cleaned up streets. He established schools. There were no established schools in France at the time. So he established a school system. He created a banking system that's still in place today. And the biggest thing he did is he established stability to a country that had been in chaos for so many years. And this is why, again, that the people love him so much, because he did things for the country that had not been accomplished for years and years and years. And what we're going to see in the next video is even more so why he did that. Okay, so this goes along with the French Revolution and Napoleon PowerPoint. And if you have any questions, just send me an email and let me know what you need.